she is. So should I be leaving? Oh, hi, Randy! How do I do that? How do I do that?
Don't just say hi.
Oh. Hi, Randy! Accept. Lori. What?
No, they're in.
Hi, Lori! We're getting ready to meet with Cathy. Oh, she's on. Is she on?
Okay,
Hi, Lori.
Cathy was invited. She needs to accept the invite. Oh my god, this is...
How could you have to invite her more than once? Yay!
Is that me?
Hi, Cathy.
That's my unmade bed. Wait a minute. There's my hair. Ah,
I'm so happy
I'm
to
cut off.
see you.
Me too. Wow. Do I have this thing too close to me? I think. There you go.
Yeah, you know
Hello,
what?
Mindy Eisenberg.
Yes, Cathy Chester. I'm so happy and honored you're joining us today.
Just like I feel about you.
Aw, I have to admit, I
Yeah.
don't do this very often.
Well, can you tell me too? I couldn't figure out how to accept it. I couldn't figure out how to get my camera right. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
I
there's
must stop
Randy saying
MS.
hi.
Yeah.
Yay. Yeah, I made sure that I'm in New York. My kids live here now, and I saw that you love to be in New York too, hanging out in the city. Where do you live?
I live in New Jersey.
Oh, you live in New Jersey.
Yeah. Well, we moved a little bit more central New Jersey, but we used to live closer. And well, I grew up in New Jersey, so New York was like our playground.
I just had the experience of taking the train from New Brunswick to here.
You were right near me. You were two towns away.
I wish I would have known that. I was at Rutgers. They invited me to do a presentation for their dance department. They got a grant for diversity. And so physical limitations, disability fit into that. It was quite fun to be with all the freshies, the freshmen, the 17, 18-year-olds, and then the grad students. Quite fun. But then taking the train was so short. I was like, wow, this ran smoothly. Even I didn't lose wherever I was. I knew where I was.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's quite an experience. I mean, excellent for Rutgers. Yay, Rutgers, you know?
Yes.
That's my dad's alma mater.
Yes.
My dad went to undergrad and law school there, so big Rutgers fan.
Oh, you did? Or he did?
No, my father.
Your father did.
Yeah, many moons ago.
Are you originally from New Jersey?
I am. I've only been out for 4 years when I went up to Boston for college. Boston College. Yay, Eagles.
Yay.
But that's it. I came back. Yeah.
Yay. Well, before we begin, let me thank our sponsor. This event is supported by More to MS, an educational resource for MS patients and their care partners. More to MS empowers people to live well with MS by providing holistic tips and resources around living a healthy lifestyle. Through the campaign, Janssen seeks to champion diverse, real-life experiences of MS warriors and their care partners, and bring valuable resources to the MS community to help them live well. Visit More to MS, where you can find information about MS tools and resources to help have open, honest discussions with your healthcare team about the right treatment for you and a customized approach to managing MS symptoms. Yes. So
We knew what you meant.
you knew what I meant?
We knew what you meant, yeah.
All right. Well, now I get to introduce you formally. But first, let me say the MS Awareness event, this is our second, and I'm honored to introduce Cathy Chester, who's joining us for this special conversation in our MS Awareness Month series. Diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 1986, Cathy has been advocating for the MS community since then. That's a long time, Cathy. Prior to the internet or any approved MS medications, there wasn't much around. She's a certified health advocate and patient leader and created award-winning blog, which I read all the time, called An Empowered Spirit to empower, inspire, and educate the MS community. Cathy was a regular contributor for several MS and health websites and has served as a consultant on patient panels for many pharmaceutical and health companies. Her unique story has been featured in industry newsletters and magazines that include Katie Couric's, I love reading her wake-up call in the morning. That's pretty impressive, Cathy. I don't mean to interrupt your bio, but I have to say, Reader's Digest, Health.com, and Women's Day, and her writing has appeared in various media outlets that include the Huffington Post, National Multiple Sclerosis Society, Multiple Sclerosis Association of America, Everyday Health, Patients Like Me, Better After 50, Irma Bombeck Writers Workshop, The Mighty Woman at Woodstock. Cathy has been featured in several videos and on the radio for PBS, Harvard Radio, Health.com, the Consortium of Multiple Sclerosis Centers, Touch Medical Media, Healthline, and wow, is that how you say it? WHOA Network.
Whoa.
What did you say?
Whoa.
Whoa. And Whoa Network. Among other awards she received, she's proudest to be awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award for WeGo Health, which is very, very impressive, and you should be very proud.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes. Well, thank you, everyone. Welcome for being here. We got to wave at them.
Thank you, everyone. So exciting to see all these names scrolling by.
It sure is. It sure is.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's dive in here. Tell us about your journey. It's quite a unique story. When were you diagnosed? What were your symptoms? And how does it manifest in your mind, body, and spirit? I really want to delve into the spirit because you are a spiritual warrior.
Well, that's how you and I first connected at a consortium meeting. I was so drawn to you and your booth, and I just kept coming back. I probably annoyed you a little bit, but it was so wonderful.
I was so excited to meet a blogger. I hadn't met one in person before.
Well, I at that time, I didn't know anyone that was doing yoga and MS, not one person. And so to find you, it just clicked. And then your personality, of course, endeared me right away.
I think it was the purple. I thought it was the purple. Purple is a spiritual color.
Oh, no, I didn't know that. Oh, okay. I'll go with that.
So tell us about your unique story.
My story really began in 1981, that when I was in a serious car accident and I had a concussion with 16 stitches in my head, my own scarlet letter. Wow. And my feet went numb, and my doctor told me my shoes were too tight. So after buying a couple pairs of new shoes and seeing that that wasn't the issue, I really ignored it. I was working in Manhattan and living on my own and really had a great job and ignored everything because what else do you do
Exactly.
when you're
That is
young?
the
And
absolute tendency to ignore pain and any kind of stress.
I was 21 and like, who wants to be stopped and who could imagine that anything would happen to you when you're so young? So it wasn't until 1986 when it got to the point where I could no longer ignore it, and so my legs were so numb and my fatigue was over the top, and I was having a hard time keeping up at work. So I went to a regular neurologist who was a family friend, and the at that time there was a MRIs weren't, it was a CAT scan and a spinal tap. A spinal tap was very
Ouch,
fun.
ouch, ouch. Those are supposed to be
Very
so
snarky.
painful.
It's not just that, that they didn't tell me not to get up, to stand up so quickly. And then I had one of those banger headaches
Oh
for a month.
no.
Yeah, yeah. So it was conclusive right away. I was fortunate to get a diagnosis right away.
There
But the
was no
thinking at that,
question mark.
no question mark, but the thinking was, this is 1986. There's no internet. There are no FDA approved medications for MS. And they told me basically to quit my job, give up my apartment, and move back home with my parents.
Just what
And
you wanted to do.
but I did it because doctors are always right, and
Mm-hmm.
that was the thinking. But it was very dark and overwhelming to me. But on the other hand, I knew that my parents, although they didn't show it, were probably having a very hard time. So I stayed strong for them. And I had a boyfriend, a serious boyfriend at the time too, who was another one of my supporters, as well as other family and friends. But
So he stuck by you.
so I yeah. Well, we got married a couple years later in 1988. So he definitely, I told him he could go if he wanted to and get your tissues. He said a life without you is no life at all. And
Oh, he
he
knew
doesn't
he had a
remember saying that, but
winner.
he did.
I
Yeah,
paid attention to what you say about your husband. You sound like you have a really beautiful relationship.
we do. We've been through a lot, obviously, but that's life. And, you learn and you grow and you evolve and you're a team. If
Yeah,
you're
I've
lucky,
heard people
you're a
say, I don't
team.
know, they get diagnosed if I'll ever get married. But see, you are proving that yes, you can, and you can have a relationship and a family. You
Yeah.
have a
Yeah. We have
son.
a 29-year-old son.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
realize we have the
Yeah.
same. I have a 29-year-old daughter.
It's
Wow.
amazing that we were 12 when we had them, because we look so
How
young.
did that happen?
I don't know. I don't know. So, so my symptoms were really numbness and weakness in my legs. My hands were weak, and fatigue was, of course, that's the number one issue with most people in the community, was huge. And they pumped me with steroids, and I stayed at home with my parents. And but I had the audacity to think that I could lead a support group right away, which was not a good idea. But
Wow, that
I
is
did have a good group.
really jumping right into the.
Yeah, for good or for bad. But uh but it didn't last long, but I did bring speakers to it and it was a great group. But anyway, we all learn as we go along and we all evolve, hopefully, as we go along. And so my journey started out in a very dark and lonely and overwhelming place because I had no place to find any information on what MS was and what it wasn't. And I went for a second opinion at the insistence of my parents into Manhattan. And the neurologist said, you definitely have MS, but we'll have a cure in 5 years. So we
Wow,
all
I
know
wonder,
how well
that
that
was
worked
really
out.
making a big promise.
Yeah, and he was highly respected when we did our research
Of
on that
course.
one. So,
Very hopeful.
yeah, yeah. Well, in retrospect, I guess he did give me hope, but um, I did, I didn't know what I had really or what my future would be, or it was not apparent that anything like I've lived with would actually, would manifest the way that it did. And so it was a time of learning and decision making and seeking out where I could find the kind of information that I needed. And, for everybody watching, just, imagine what that was like without the internet. It was a whole different ball game. And thank God I found at the time Dr. Andrew Weil because he was
Tell
talking
us about
about,
that.
yeah,
I'm a fan of Dr. Weil.
he was quite incredible because he had books out and articles, and he had I was just going to say a website, but that couldn't be. He had books out and newsletters that came in snail mail, and I just drank them in as quickly as I could. And I followed his advice, and he talked about nutrition and he talked about exercise, which the medical community was not talking about. They didn't want you to sweat and raise your body temperature. They wanted you to
So
just rest,
contrary to
rest,
what we
rest.
know now.
Very contrary. They told me, I asked about yoga and acupuncture, and I was basically laughed in the face because it wasn't well thought of at the time. They just wanted you to lay low. And so Dr. Weil was like a breath of fresh air, and I really followed him to the letter. And I felt that there was hope, and I felt that, excuse me, there must be more out there than what I'm learning. And
Thank
he
goodness
really
for your
sparked it for
instinct.
me. Well, yes, true, but also I had the support of my parents, and my husband especially also really liked him. And just as an aside, a couple years later, I went to a book signing of his, and I waited in a very long line because I wanted to tell him. And I came up and I told him when it was my turn, and I
What did he
told him how much
say?
he
What was
helped
his
me. He
response?
put his pen down and he stood up and he looked at me. And even though we know that the picture of what we look like is not the whole story, but he looked at me and he said, "Well, I must have done something right."
Oh,
And that was really very gracious of him. I just felt like so great about that,
very
So he really
authentic.
started me. Yes, very authentic and very bright. Of course, he's Harvard educated and all that. But beyond that, he could see the need that we had of integrative medicine at that time when it wasn't well thought of. And people like me, really depended on him, but we're very thankful and grateful for him. So anyway, I want to move beyond that, but that's what really started me on not only the spiritual path, but the complementary medicine path or the holistic path, all of
It
that.
sure didn't
It
take you
started
long
it.
after your diagnosis to figure this out, really. I mean, it was
Well, I
brand
knew
new
there
then.
had to be
People really weren't
something.
going that way.
True. And that's exactly why, I mean, I'm not saying true about me, I'm just saying true in general that it started me on the path that I have or am to this day, is that you always have to stay curious and learn and read and give room to what the possibilities are, because there's so much you have to try it yourself and see if it works for you. So I never say no. I'm cautious about things that I'm not sure if it's the right thing for me, but I'll always be willing to listen and learn and research, research, research.
Yes.
Yeah.
In your blog, you talk about how you were living in a metaphorical free fall. How many cures did I hear about? How many times was I urged to remove my mercury dental fillings or try bee venom therapy or use certain supplements or try an expensive controversial cure that the medical community never accepted but allegedly helped some patients. Can you expand about your feelings about this? And what holistic practices did you think really work or make a difference in how you feel?
Well, in that blog post that you're referring to, I didn't watch Mad Men that much. I watched a couple of episodes, and if people's jaws are dropping, I apologize. But I love I
Welcome,
love the
everybody. We're
opening.
so glad to have you here. Yvonne, I'm so happy you're here.
I'm sorry, I wasn't really paying attention to who's here, but whoever is here, I'm so happy to have you here too. I'm very, very grateful.
Yep. I know some of them are brand new to Instagram because I sent out some, because when I mentioned we were doing this to several of our students, I'm like, you can do this. Just go on, follow us. You can do this. So we sent out the steps to get on. I hope it wasn't
Hi,
too
everyone.
difficult.
Can you see my hand? Hi.
I see Diane is on. Very excited you're on, Diane. Sharing good energy.
Yay. Wow.
So what holistic practices do you think, you were talking about the blog and Mad Men and.
Oh, well, the thing with Mad Men is that the image of the man falling down through the building, he's falling down. And many times I've felt that way because I try to talk about living a positive life with MS. But let's be honest, I'm not going to.
Connection is going a little funky. I'm losing you a little bit, Cathy. Is this me or her? I'm losing her. Julia. Oops. What do we do? Cathy? Now I hear you. Now I can hear you, they said. Do you hear Cathy? Because I'm losing Cathy.
Well, I'm going to keep talking for everyone else. Okay. Oh, somebody says they can hear you, Mindy, but I can't hear you.
Yeah, they hear me, and I wasn't hearing you. Okay.
Oh, can you hear? You can hear me now?
Yes. Yeah. Now I
can
hear
you. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Well. Anyway, the free fall of MS. Okay. Well, I'll get to the point. Is that the free fall of MS are the years of living with the different issues that manifest themselves. And so, for instance, I could feel really good one day, and then the next day, all of a sudden, I'm so tired, I can't get out of bed. My feet aren't working. The spasticity is kicking in. And then that really affects your mental health, your anxiety, depression, whatever it is. And so that free fall continues, and it will continue. It's all in your perspective and how you handle it. And it's not always easy, and it doesn't always happen. And if it doesn't, you're still enough and you're still valuable, and tomorrow's another day. But the free fall is real. And so I was feeling those feelings because I was hit with SIBO, which is a gut issue, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth.
Yeah, can you explain that a little bit? I'm not sure everyone knows, but I just want to thank you for being so candid and honest. Because it's easy to crawl in the corner, but you're out there saying this is real and helping educate people. And you pick yourself up from that free fall roller coaster. So how do you do that?
Well, first of all, I've had it for 35 years. And over the 35 years, I've learned a lot of life lessons. I am a positive person to begin with, but life has really kicked me around with the MS, but beyond the MS, with many comorbidities that I live with. And so SIBO has to do with your gut microbiome. And what it is there too much bacteria that gets into your small intestine where it's not supposed to be. And
How does
so
it
can
get
be,
there?
well, it's a good question, which they can't explain. It's like MS. If they knew the cause, then they could find a cure, you
Yes.
know? So, and it's chronic. I've had it before, a couple years ago. It's extremely painful, and it involves, diarrhea, or constipation, nausea, and it just is a life changer because for me, I really felt like I couldn't leave home because I had to be near a bathroom. And by the way, I've been blogging for 10 years, and I used to not be so open. And I noticed the first blog post when I really broke myself open
Yeah.
is when it really stuck. So why not?
When you say
We're
really
here to
stuck, you
help
mean
each other.
people started to really
People
pay attention?
responded to it. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's what we need. We're a community of people who need to lean on each other and feel like they're not alone. They're not the only ones. And so I think it's much better to be able to speak frankly, authentically. And I think that people will know it when you're not being authentic. I give the community so much credit for that. And so why not? So with the SIBO, and I had COVID, and then the MS, of course, kicked in.
Was
And
this
then
all
my
at the
mental
same
health
time?
no, but I still
One
have
after
some
the
long
next?
COVID issues. I took a walk yesterday. I had to catch my breath.
Mm-hmm.
As I used my cane because of all of this, well, people on Instagram might have seen my post. I haven't used that cane in many years, but
Yeah, I
all of
did see
this
that.
affects MS. Yeah. So, the free fall has to do with that. So we can be falling, joy, falling, joy.
I
But
love how
all
you
through
intersperse
that,
that joy. Like it is
well,
possible.
it might not be so much joy. I don't want to do toxic positivity that everybody's talking
Yeah,
about.
don't do that.
Um,
You don't do that.
no, I hope not. But I think that the secret for me is to always remember what you're grateful for. Like John Kabat-Zinn says with mindfulness, there's always more right with you than wrong.
That
And I
is one of
really
my
believe
favorite
that.
quotes.
I love that quote too. See?
We have a lot in
Like-minded.
common. I mean, he was my
Yeah.
teacher too, or he still is my teacher, but yeah.
Oh, I love him. And I think that for me, I try to either start my day off or end my day with naming at least 3 things that I'm grateful for.
Do you say
Because
them to
that really,
yourself? Do you write them?
I find when I write them down, it's very helpful. But I find myself talking to myself more lately. There's nothing wrong with that. It helps. So sometimes I'll say them out loud as well. Whatever works for you
Yeah.
is what works for you. No judgments. So,
Do you say them to others, or is it pretty much a private thing?
well, I think I tell my son and my husband almost every day how grateful I am for them, and they
Oh,
probably
I love
roll their
that.
eyes. They're like, "Oh, here she goes again,"
You're
but
kind of
I
gushy, but that's what they love about you.
Well, after 9/11, I realized how important it was to tell people how you feel about them. And I think that, life is so fragile and you don't know day to day what's going to happen. So I think it's important to relay that to whoever. And also I think it's important to tell people that you might not know as well to say, hey, you really did this great thing. I'm really impressed. Or I tell a lot of the younger advocates, and I'm so blown away by what they're doing, things that were not available to me. They're really creating this awareness about MS in a way that I wasn't able to do at the beginning. So, kindness, that's very holistic. Kindness it's very human to be kind to others.
Yeah, it's really hard sometimes to be kind to ourselves. Like, I find I'm preaching it, but then you really got to practice it yourself. I find that to be the hardest.
Yeah, and give yourself permission to know that you maybe screwed up somehow or that you couldn't do this that day, but tomorrow is a clean slate and you see what you can do tomorrow. And if you can't do it then you do it when you're able to. But go easy on yourself. So important. And that helps with the stress levels too, which affects everything.
Yeah, like even you mentioned the IBS. We didn't really talk about the SIBO. Does that lead to the IBS or they don't know?
Well, they're two separate things.
Yes.
The
Okay, so they are
IBS
two separate things. There's so much
yeah.
going on in the gut.
Oh yeah, well look at all the research that's going on
The
between the gut
microbiome.
microbiome and MS, and it's very important to also keep on top of that. And I've signed up, I do follow hashtags for IBS, for gut issues, and I did, when I had SIBO the first time, I did go to an excellent, I can't recommend her to follow her high enough,
What did you say? Who is
registered
that?
her name is Kate Scarlotta, and she's a registered dietitian, but she's gone way beyond. She's also blown up in the stratosphere with all the work she does. And even though she doesn't do I'm not sure if she does one-on-one practice anymore, but her blog, A Digestive Peace of Mind.
Ooh, nice.
She gives a lot of good information, a lot of great recipes, because I have to be gluten-free, sugar-free, and dairy-free. You're like,
That is tough stuff.
what can I eat? But with her, she showed me the way, and she was a godsend the first time. I can't say that enough. She was a godsend. Yeah. And follow her on Instagram too. It's Kate Scarlotta.
And is her specialty autoimmune or MS or diet in general?
It's gut issues of the gut. Yeah. Yeah. But she knows about MS, and she was extremely helpful for me and continues to be to this day. She still helps me and I still follow her. It's nice to know that there are people that are in your corner.
You're really
and
kind
that's
of
the
ahead
point
of
of
the times with
advocating
this too. I mean, this is only coming to the forefront.
about the gut.
Yeah, and the microbiome.
Yeah,
You were ahead of your time.
I can't take full credit for that. I
Someone
think it's
asked if you
God
could
or
repeat
Buddha
the
or
site.
whoever gave this to me. What's that?
Someone asked if you could repeat. Lori did. Lori is a yogi.
Oh,
She comes to our Yoga Moves MS classes. She said, "Could you repeat the
yeah.
Instagram site?" And then
For
someone
Kate
else is asking
Scarlotta.
now too.
Kate, Kate, Scarlotta, S as in Sam, Carlat, as in Tom, Scarlotta.
I love how you give very useful information.
Just, you can reach out to me too if you need to find her, if you're having issues with that. I'd be more than happy to help.
You could just message Cathy, and I'll put it in our newsletter too so they can get to you. All of a sudden, you'll be answering lots of questions.
I love it. That's my mission for the rest of my life. It really is.
Can you talk about that? When did you decide and how did you evolve to be this, you're super impactful, you're an author, you're a blogger. When did you realize what your mission and passion was for you to do with your life? That is such an important pivotal point.
No. I don't know if I ever sat there and said, "Ooh, this is what I'm going to do." I think I just kept moving in the direction of what made me feel fulfilled and made me feel like I could help others. And then I realized that look, of course, there are other people who were diagnosed before I was, but I feel like I have a point of view from a time that most of the people I meet in the community are not aware of. There was to be diagnosed when I was diagnosed. So right away, like I said, I led that support group, and then that, then I started writing letters to the editor and, to get published in newspapers, because I decided at the beginning that I not only wanted to help the MS community, I also wanted to help the able-bodied community, because I thought it was important to educate others about what MS was, what our struggles are, what we need in research, what we are, that we're not only just dying for a cure, but just for a way to live our lives as joyfully and as well, what I always say is how to live a positive life within our abilities, because it's not all, like I said before, Pollyanna.
But there is some light that flickers through.
Well, I think there has to be. I think we have a choice right off the bat. We have two choices on how we're going to handle our disease. And I think the better choice, in my opinion, is to try to stay positive. I found that to be very important during my worst exacerbations, to keep hope in my heart and be grateful for what I had. And so as an advocate, I wanted to spread that around to try to change people's perspectives on how we look at ourselves and how and empower each other. I wanted to empower others to feel that there is hope, and no matter what type of MS you're diagnosed with, and I did want to reach out so that the pharmaceutical companies could hear, or scientists could hear, researchers could hear. I like being on patient panels for pharmaceutical companies. I like meeting. I've actually met some of the scientists that have or are working on the drugs.
That's
or
pretty
have
cool.
the drugs. Yeah, I hugged one guy. I think I surprised the hell out of him and just thanked him for creating this one drug that was really helping at the time. I know. I get a little emotional.
It's awesome.
But imagine when I mean, we used to be on lists when these first drugs came out. So we would qualify, like beta seron was the first drug to come out. We had to go on lists and were approved.
What do you mean by that? You had to go on a list to be?
I had to go on a list to be able to get the drug.
Okay.
Because everybody wanted to get the drug.
And so when you're
kind of
saying
unimaginable,
a wait list, you had to wait to.
Yeah. I was lucky enough to have a nurse practitioner at the time who put me at the head of the class, and I always got on one right away. So anyway. I don't know if I answered your question, but my advocacy kind of steamrolled. And so that's why I'm happy to, that I was able to spread the word in so many platforms. And I have to say that when I wrote about Disability Month, I think it was July, it's in July, on Instagram, that's when Katie Couric reached out to me and said,
wow.
I'm really fascinated about Disability Month.
I'm really impressed. I read her
Well,
every
I was
morning.
pretty blown away. And I was part of a women's empowerment group at the time. And I'm like, do you think this is really Katie Couric? And it was. So, kudos to Katie.
She found
for
you,
wanting to cover that.
Shining through there. You stood out.
I love your rose-colored glasses, but I'll take it anyway.
You should take it because you did stand out. You got to give yourself a little credit there.
Yeah. Well, women, that's really hard to take compliments, but I will take it. You know why? Because it helps the community. It elevates our message and it puts us out there even more. And so I think that with more awareness comes more research and comes better ways to live our lives. And I hope that with the next generation, my son's generation, that there will be better ways to live with MS and a cure. Yeah. A cure. It's time. Yeah.
Absolutely. But there's so much out there now. We have to be really positive. It seems like they're coming out with something new. Even the Epstein bar just came out, right? Like the drawing the connection.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what unfolds with that.
Exactly. someday they'll look back at it and say, what was MS? I never heard of it. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah,
I can be hopeful.
absolutely. So, in yoga, we focus on abilities rather than disabilities. And what do you see as common myths about physical or cognitive disability? How can we set the record straight about that? As you were talking about disability, it made me think of that you were writing about it for Disability Month.
Yeah, I was thinking about the myths that are out there in general for MS, and there are so many. But the ones that stuck out in my mind, I can speak from what my experience was that MS is fatal, which is a big old myth. Not true.
I
You
remember
do not
getting in a
die.
fight with my biology teacher in, I don't know, maybe 10th grade, because my mother had progressive MS. And of course, I didn't
Yeah.
want to think she was going to die from it, but she's telling me how you die from it. I'm like, no, you really don't die from MS, And I remember just really duking it out with her in front of the class.
I hope you still got a good grade because you deserved it. You
I
just
think
taught your
I did. Her name
biology
was Miss
teacher.
Slaughter, right? I think I still got a good grade in there, but yeah,
That's so funny and not funny. But see, you were
exactly.
educating back then
Exactly.
because you knew firsthand because you're your mom.
Yeah.
So that was an important component. You spoke up,
Right. And
and
that
you
was
advocated.
misinformation. I mean, here was a
Oh,
science
yeah.
teacher and the fact that she was going to argue with me about it. No, you can, die from an infection that might be brought on, or you might be more vulnerable, but come on.
Right,
Don't spread that
right.
out
You
there.
get complications from
Yeah.
MS,
Just
but not directly from MS.
right.
So that was the first one that I heard when I was diagnosed. And I also heard that women cannot or should not get pregnant while they have MS,
Yes.
which is also a myth. Now, again, there was no internet, so my mom and I drove an hour and a half away to listen to a woman who was just beginning to focus on pregnancy and MS. And I wanted to hear what she had to say because my husband and I wanted to start a family, and I really wanted to hear. And, so we went ahead, obviously. And I'll tell you, I was walking with a cane and I had hand controls for driving at the time. And when I was pregnant, because of hormones, they both went out the window, threw away the cane,
That must
got
have
rid of the
felt like
hand
freedom.
controls. Oh my God, I felt like before I had MS, it was extraordinary. I mean, people say, why don't you just stay pregnant all the time? So, not no. But so anyway, I did have an exacerbation, which is not uncommon after
Yeah.
giving birth. But the joy of motherhood is well worth an exacerbation. And so, everybody has a different story, and I don't want to say that my story applies to everybody else, but women can get pregnant and probably should consult with their obstetrician and with their internist, a neurologist before diving in,
Yeah, of course.
so to speak. Yeah, and there was another one too. Oh, there are a lot of myths. I was
Is there any
just trying to
cognitive
think.
ones that come to mind?
Um, oh, I could joke and say I forget, but uh, I'm trying.
That's right.
Which is true, so a lot of the times. I don't know if there are any cognitive that I
I
could
know,
think of
my
right
students
now.
like to say things like, oh, it's the MS. And I'm like, you know what? Don't give me that stuff. I mean, maybe it
Well,
is. Maybe
well,
it
for
is.
sure.
I mean, I'm not
Well,
saying it's not, but sometimes it is, sometimes it's not.
well, that's it. As you age, you don't know if something's due to MS. I mean, it's so easy for us to blame everything on MS, and it
Yes.
could be part of the
Yes.
aging. I mean, I thought for sure I was forgetting so much, and I went for my second cognitive testing. And excuse me. Okay, I turned my phone off. I guess. Okay.
Oh, I'm not hearing you again.
Are you there?
Oh, yeah, now I hear you.
Yeah, I don't know why you
You're
sound
going
far away.
quiet, though.
Yeah, I hung up on somebody. Can you hear me?
I hear you very quietly, very low.
Yeah, me too. Apologize to everyone.
I hear you, but for some reason the volume went down.
Yeah, my volume's all the way up.
Okay, now I'm hearing you. Not loud, but I'm hearing you.
Yeah, I'm not hearing you loudly either.
Okay, do you hear me
I,
now?
I can hear you.
Yeah,
I just,
strange.
yeah. Should I go out and in again?
I don't think so. I mean, I hear you. Do you guys hear
Yeah.
Kathy?
What?
I was asking if they heard you. I think we're hearing each other.
Can everybody hear me?
I hear you very clear
Somebody just
now.
type yes or no.
Yeah, I hear you now.
Okay. I'll speak a little louder. What was I saying?
We were talking about cognitive.
See? Anyway, I went for a neuropsych test and she said, I'm totally fine. So, I don't know what myths there are, but I do want to suggest that if anybody is experiencing, and just really as a baseline, get a neuropsych test, get a script from your neurologist just to test your cognitive abilities so that they can compare it down the line
Yes,
of how you're doing cognitively.
that's a good idea to
Yeah,
have a baseline.
yeah.
Yeah.
This volume's driving me crazy. I'm
Yeah, well, so
sorry.
we'll start to end it here. I want to end with, I was so attracted to you, just like I think we were drawn to each other because you're a mindfulness practitioner. And you refer to yourself as a spiritual professor, which I love. You state in your blog how you've experienced sadness and disappointment in 2021, and you made a commitment to some certain practices. Can you tell people what they are? Or do you want me to read them
Say
and
the
then you
last
could
part again.
comment on them? You said you have a
What's the
daily
last?
meditation practice. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so I really love the insight timer.
I do too. It's
Oh, good. You said my
fantastic.
volume's getting better. The insight timer. There's one poem that I found that really speaks to me, and now, of course, there you go. Cognitively, I can't remember the name of it,
She Let
but
Go. It really
she
stuck
let
with
go.
me
Thank
because
you.
I heard my rabbi read it and when we do soulful yoga. And she read that, and then I'm like, oh wow, this makes total sense that Kathy is into this. It's She Let Go by Sapphire Rose.
Sapphire Rose. But I love the guy who
John
reads it, John
Sadiq.
Siddiquay.
John,
Yeah, I
yes,
love his
Siddiquay. Okay,
voice.
thank you for that.
Yeah,
You
and
love his
it's
voice.
so soothing, and it just really relaxes me. And so when I meditate, I like to listen to his voice. But I also recently found on YouTube, there are Cornell set up some webcams, not only up where Cornell is, upstate New York, but also they have some in Ontario, some in Africa. They set up webcams near these beautiful bird feeders, and you see these extraordinary birds and eating. They have nuts and apples and all kinds of things, and they come in and out. And I love the sound of nature because
Yes.
nature is what really helps with anxiety and a bad
Very
mood. Or I've
grounding.
always found it the answer since I was a child. Yeah. So the birds, I meditate listening to those birds, and I just close my eyes and listen, and it really, really takes me away. But I also have to say that I recently, because of the SIBO, I had a very uncomfortable test. And during the test,
Yes.
I did the 4-4-4
Oh,
breath
the
work.
box breath.
Whatever. I know you would know the name of
Yeah.
it. I only know it's 4-4-4. So you breathe in for 4, hold it for 4, and breathe out for 4. And I found a focal point on the wall, And I really focused on that, doing the breathing, and it got me through the test. And I thought, this is really something that I'm just so excited about. And somebody said, you got to get up to 777. Okay, but
Okay,
it got me
fine,
through that
whatever. But
test.
444 is awesome. Okay. You know, like it's good. We take too many, the average person is taking too many breaths per minute. You know, the optimal is actually 5.6 to 6 breaths a minute. So the box breath actually helps you get to that optimal, but that's just a little side point. I'm really into the breath and breathing techniques. So, and you're
I think
so
it's
intuitive,
really
you knew.
helpful. What's that?
I said, you pray. I love how you practice what you preach.
Well, of course, and whatever works for you and keeps you calm and really attacks the anxiety level and all. Whatever works for you is what works for you. I mean, I could just stand out on a trail with nobody around and listen to the sounds. And that's also a cognitive thing with the sight, sound, smell. And you look around, you name the trees, you think about it, you look at the colors, you smell, you hear,
You're using
and
all
it's
your
all
senses.
connected. Yeah, exactly. So, of course, I wish I was in Michigan. I could take your yoga classes.
I do too.
Yeah. So
Well, I didn't know
anyway,
I was so close. If I come back, which I might for like a teacher training, I'm calling you in.
oh, that would be a fun date. It's been a long, long time. I can't even remember how many years, but
That would
yeah,
be
it's been a
really
long,
fun.
long time. So I think that with the with all of these with the meditation and the gratitude and the nature. I did some tapping over the pandemic too, which was really helpful. Whatever works for you is what you do, but it's out there to explore and see what works for you.
Yep.
And I think that it
Everybody's
really
different.
helps with MS, with the stress levels, and just with the day-to-day struggles. And I've found so much joy in doing all of these things. I think it's been a huge blessing for me to find all of this.
And you know what I love? You've researched different options, the tapping, the meditation, going in nature, your nutrition. It's like, I love how you've had this holistic approach.
Well, yeah, I mean, to me, it has to be complementary medicine. It's a combination of traditional and holistic,
Absolutely. We
and
need
that's what
both.
works for me.
Absolutely.
But I love exploring the holistic side because there's so much out there. There's so much available. And coming from a place where there was no place to research all of this to now, I'm so grateful. I mean, I know there's a lot of the internet that I'm not grateful for, but that part of the internet I'm very grateful for and very grateful to make all the connections that I have through, the different social media platforms, because our community is a strong one, and we are uniquely blessed to have each other to stand side by side, whether we're far away or near. And it's important to lean in and help one another. So that's why I was so happy to meet you at
Oh,
that meeting, because it really, added to my education of the possibilities of what's out there and how I can make my journey a little easier if possible. And it certainly did.
I totally honor and respect all the research you've done and how much you've helped so many people. You've really made an impact, and you just in your suggestions and the way you're a role model.
Thank you.
You are practicing what you preach, and it's just beautiful. What would you say is on your agenda now for creating positive change? You are a change maker. So what have you decided for right now?
There you are. Wow, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Did you
You are
hear what I was
louder
saying,
now.
or should I repeat?
No, I didn't hear what you
Uh-oh.
said. Well, we
Okay,
heard a
so
little bit of it.
so what
Well,
I said was, what would be on your agenda now for creating this positive change in your life? What's like your priority now?
well, what's been on my mind lately is aging and MS. And aging is, of course, something we're all going to do. You know, I was 28 when I got this disease, and who would have thought about, you know, I'm 63 now. But a lot of times my demographic is largely ignored, and I don't know who drew the line in who is older, quote, older or not. But there is no line because my age is just chronological, and that's all it is. And so I've tried to reach out to the
I'm losing you. Do you guys hear us? Oh, now someone said sound is great, but I am not here.
Mindy.
Yeah, it's definitely coming in and out a bit. Do you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. It goes blank when you
Okay.
disappear, and now you're back. I was just saying that
Okay. So just
I've
repeat what you
also
were
heard.
saying.
Okay. I have heard from some people in the community, the MS community, who have been told by doctors that since their last medication was not working for them, that they aren't interested in prescribing anything else for them because basically they left them out to dry, and that's horrific. You know, people are
Oh, going out again.
and they should be to have these medications prescribed, and there's no reason why they shouldn't. And so I think that aging really needs to be addressed because we are part of the community, a big part, and we still have value, and we still have a lot to give, and we have the knowledge and the expertise as well. And so we all are here to work together. And I just hope that, you know, the ears will open up a little bit more and will be better represented. But that's really a platform that I'm very interested in. And I think Can Do is doing some classes for about aging and MS, which I signed
Awesome.
up for. So good for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so maybe it's opening up a little.
We kind of put that by the wayside, and it's just so important. If you even look what's happened with the aging population during COVID.
Right, exactly. So, you know, that's just part of what I want to do. I have a new and improved blog. I got a grant from Healthy Voices. And so I just started with
I
that. And yeah.
can't
So
wait to see what you do with that.
thanks.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for our time together. Thanks, Adam. Adam's been with us, and Yvonne, she's going to our 1 o'clock yoga class now. Perfect how she reminds us that class is going to start. we have online virtual classes every day, and they've grown since COVID. So I'm very thankful that we've been able to reach people all over, in this
That's
country, out of this
fabulous.
country, and the holistic events that I know you've been at some of them. And yeah, it's just been really nice to share all this information and come together in this way. Definitely
Well,
a
I'm
silver
just really
lining.
grateful of all that you're doing for the community. You are really helping so many people.
Oh, we're going out again. Kathy, hold on 1 second. We're going out.
If anybody
Thank
had
you
any
so much.
questions, but
Yeah, if there's any questions, ask them quickly. I do want to mention this event is sponsored by More to MS, a Janssen Pharmaceuticals Incorporated initiative to support the MS community. So I'm very grateful for their support so that we can do these kind of events and have these kind of important chats.
yes, and yay,
Anything
Janssen.
else you
Yay,
want to say,
Janssen.
Kim? Yes,
I
thank you
just
so
want to
much. More
see
to
what's next
MS.
for all of us. Yeah, and I just
Yes.
hope that everybody on here got something out of here, some golden nugget that they'll take away. And so, and reach out to me if you do have any questions. I'm more than happy to help you out.
Yes, absolutely. I will send you the recording and we'll put it on our YouTube channel. And so we'll get out the recording to people who had to miss it. And you see, and Lori is saying, you are awesome. Lori Perna is pretty awesome too, I gotta say. Adam's awesome. Every one of our students is awesome. You're all awesome. The MS community is amazing. I never thought it would be so rewarding. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Cathy. Sending big hugs. We're in. I know we're losing, so let's just say goodbye, but I hate saying goodbye. We'll have to do this again. Thanks, Adam.
Oh,
Thank
I'd
you for
love
being
to.
here.
Thank you to
Take
everyone,
care.
everyone involved. Bye, bye.
I love
Mwah.
all the bye-bye.
Have a good class. Love you. Bye.
All right. Thank you.
You have to end it.
Where do I do that?